Welcome to Actuate Water Faucet, an innovative blockchain faucet dedicated to revolutionizing water management in communities, especially in northeastern Kenya. By leveraging blockchain technology, Actuate Water ensures fair access to clean and reliable water sources. This initiative not only empowers economic prosperity and educational advancement, but also contributes to reduced crime rates. Our project incorporates a 3-day creative training program for community development workers. These workers will educate households about transformative change, what we call metanoia. This process involves envisioning the future they desire, understanding their current conditions, and mapping out how to achieve that future. Within the Actuate Water Faucet, we offer an innovative 8-week learning program. This hybrid program combines online and physical meetings, catering to diverse learning preferences and schedules. Participants actively engage in these sessions and earn tokens as incentives for their contributions. These tokens serve a dual purpose. They not only reward individual participation but also empower community development workers. With these tokens, workers can train households within their communities, amplifying the program's impact far beyond the immediate participants. This creates a cycle of empowerment and knowledge sharing, enhancing community resilience and well-being. Our solution facilitates economic activities like agriculture and small-scale businesses. It also alleviates the burden on children, particularly girls, who often miss school to fetch water from distant sources. Through Actuate Water's faucet, communities unlock their economic potential, promote sustainable growth, and foster a brighter future for all. Join us in transforming lives with Actuate Water. Together, we can build a sustainable and prosperous future. Welcome to Actuate Water Faucet, an innovative blockchain faucet dedicated to revolutionizing water management in communities, especially in northeastern Kenya. By leveraging blockchain technology, Actuate Water ensures fair access to clean and reliable water sources. This initiative not only empowers economic prosperity and educational advancement, but also contributes to reduced crime rates. Our project incorporates a 3-day creative training program for community development workers. These workers will educate households about transformative change, what we call metanoia. This process involves envisioning the future they desire, understanding their current conditions, and mapping out how to achieve that future. Within the Actuate Water Faucet, we offer an innovative 8-week learning program. This hybrid program combines online and physical meetings, catering to diverse learning preferences and schedules. Participants actively engage in these sessions and earn tokens as incentives for their contributions. These tokens serve a dual purpose. They not only reward individual participation but also empower community development workers. With these tokens, workers can train households within their communities, amplifying the program's impact far beyond the immediate participants. This creates a cycle of empowerment and knowledge sharing, enhancing community resilience and well-being. Our solution facilitates economic activities like agriculture and small-scale businesses. It also alleviates the burden on children, particularly girls, who often miss school to fetch water from distant sources. Through Actuate Water's faucet, communities unlock their economic potential, promote sustainable growth, and foster a brighter future for all. Join us in transforming lives with Actuate Water. Together, we can build a sustainable and prosperous future. Welcome to Actuate Water Faucet, an innovative blockchain faucet dedicated to revolutionizing water management in communities, especially in northeastern Kenya. By leveraging blockchain technology, Actuate Water ensures fair access to clean and reliable water sources. This initiative not only empowers economic prosperity and educational advancement, but also contributes to reduced crime rates. Our project incorporates a 3-day creative training program for community development workers. These workers will educate households about transformative change, what we call metanoia. This process involves envisioning the future they desire, understanding their current conditions, and mapping out how to achieve that future. Within the Actuate Water Faucet, we offer an innovative 8-week learning program. This hybrid program combines online and physical meetings, catering to diverse learning preferences and schedules. Participants actively engage in these sessions and earn tokens as incentives for their contributions. These tokens serve a dual purpose. They not only reward individual participation but also empower community development workers. With these tokens, workers can train households within their communities, amplifying the program's impact far beyond the immediate participants. This creates a cycle of empowerment and knowledge sharing, enhancing community resilience and well-being. Our solution facilitates economic activities like agriculture and small-scale businesses. It also alleviates the burden on children, particularly girls, who often miss school to fetch water from distant sources. Through Actuate Water's faucet, communities unlock their economic potential, promote sustainable growth, and foster a brighter future for all. Join us in transforming lives with Actuate Water. Together, we can build a sustainable and prosperous future. Welcome to Actuate Water Faucet, an innovative blockchain faucet dedicated to revolutionizing water management in communities, especially in northeastern Kenya. By leveraging blockchain technology, Actuate Water ensures fair access to clean and reliable water sources. This initiative not only empowers economic prosperity and educational advancement, but also contributes to reduced crime rates. Our project incorporates a 3-day creative training program for community development workers. These workers will educate households about transformative change, what we call metanoia. This process involves envisioning the future they desire, understanding their current conditions, and mapping out how to achieve that future. Within the Actuate Water Faucet, we offer an innovative 8-week learning program. This hybrid program combines online and physical meetings, catering to diverse learning preferences and schedules. Participants actively engage in these sessions and earn tokens as incentives for their contributions. These tokens serve a dual purpose.
Okay, thank you very much, Frida, for reminding us about the Actuate Water's mission and vision and what we do with Actuate Water. And good evening, everyone. And I want to start by appreciating the presence of our CEO, Dr. Masharia. Dr. Thank you very much for making time to our meeting. And I also want to recognize the presence of our guest, Steve Teves. Thank you very much for making time to join us today. So once again, good evening, everyone, and thank you for making time and joining today's session. Today, we're going to focus on an essential and timely topic, which is implementing sustainable project management practices in construction and energy. And as we all know, integrating sustainability into our projects is no longer just about meeting standards, it's about reshaping our future. And the practices we are going to discuss today have the potential to make a tangible difference, from conserving resources to reducing environmental impact and creating resilient, forward-looking projects. We are honored to have a guest speaker from Kilele Craft with us, bringing his expertise and practical insights on how sustainability can be woven into the fabric of project management in the construction and energy sectors. Once again, thank you very much, everyone, for being here, and let us begin the session. So I'm going to invite our guest speaker, Steve Teves, to begin his presentation. So Steve, you're welcome.
Thank you, Barbara. Thank you, everybody. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. It's a pleasure to be here with you, Mr. Mashada. It's a pleasure to meet you once again and everybody else in the meeting today. Yes, so my name is Steve Tevez. I'm just going to dive into it straight away. My name is Steve Tevez. I am the owner of Kilele Craft Limited. It's a project management and construction company based here in Kenya. We work with clients both in Kenya and also from abroad to implement their project in construction, in manufacturing and consultancy as well, and a bit of IT. But our main focus is construction and manufacturing. In terms of project management, we are quite focused in helping businesses to do their project in a sustainable way. And that is how we are ending up today in this conversation that we are going to have for the next few minutes. And I would really love to make it interactive, because I know an interactive session are the sessions that are normally more productive rather than giving a speech. So I'm gonna be posing some questions in the middle as we talk. I'm gonna be, inviting you to chip in as we continue with the conversation. So let's discuss the topic that she has mentioned. But then I'm going to give a quick overview on the topic, and then after that, we are going to, feel free to chip in, give me your views as well. And at the end of it, we want to loop this in into, you know, the overall picture of why we are all here and why we're even discussing the topic in the first place, and how we can move forward from the discussion that we're having. All right. So, implementing sustainable project management practices in construction and energy. That's a topic we are going to talk about. It's quite a long topic, but I think the most important bit in the topic is implementing sustainable project management practices, because ultimately it is our practices that affect the results that we get in any venture that we do, and in any business that you work in. The practice that you have implemented in your business, in your company, and even in your personal life definitely affects the outcome of what you get. So if we do the things the same way they've been done before and ignore the sustainable practices that we're supposed to implement in our projects and businesses, then definitely we would not be getting the result that we ought to have gotten should we have applied the sustainable practices. So you may be wondering, why talk about sustainability in the first place? Why should it be sustainable? And why does it matter in project management? And before I dive into that, I just want to clarify something. Project management has been attached to majorly construction industry for, you know so many years. If you ask 10 people who a project manager is, they would almost automatically tell you that a project manager is someone who manages a construction site or a project where there is construction. But project management cuts across any field you can think about, be it in the medicine field, be it in, finance, be it in procurement, whether you're in the energy sector, construction, IT. We have project management all over the place, because any activity that we do as human beings in our various lines of work, they're projects of some sort. And a very simple example is us having this meeting right now that Barbara organized. It is a project, because she had to plan for the meeting. She had to get a speaker. She had to get the time. She had to, give a guideline on the topic to talk about, and why this meeting is important to plug into the bigger picture of the summit in December and next year. So that is also a project, even what we're doing right now. So when I mention project management, I really want us to think about our lives, to think about what we do in our various fields, because I believe we come from different backgrounds, to also think about overcoming, let me not call them myths, but overcoming the common practices that we have always seen around, and adopting new ways of thinking, new approaches in a manner that is able to help each one of us. And a quick question in that is, if somebody told you today that if you do the following activities, one, two, three, four, then your business, your company is going to increase its ROI by 15%, you will definitely get, curious into what are these steps, one, two, three, four, that I can do so that my business can increase its ROI by 15%. That's right. Okay. And if somebody else told you that these practices, if you do not do them, then your business is actually losing up to 15% of its ROI, or of its profits annually, most of the times you won't really think about it a lot, because of being familiar. There's something called familiarity, because you have been used to doing something in a certain way for a number of years, and it has been working for you, quote unquote. and you don't really see a big change in case something new is introduced or something is not introduced. And so it is difficult to just make that quick mind shift into what are these things that we can do that can increase our ROI or can reduce our losses. And if you talk about that in terms of finance, then automatically you're talking about sustainability. But sustainability goes beyond finance alone. It goes into the environment and also the social aspect of our businesses or any activity that we do or any project that we are involved in. And it aims to minimize our negative impacts on the planet while we try as much as possible to maximize the positive social outcomes and economic viability. What that means is sustainable project management, it is an approach that integrates the environment, the social and the economic consideration in any project that you do. And it is involved in the planning and execution and even completion of this project. Case in mind, before you start a project, sustainable project management advises or is used to, you can literally sit down and think about this with your team. How is our project going to affect the environment? How is it going to affect the social setting around the place, the community? People that live around here, the social activities that they do, how are they going to get affected? And of course, the economic considerations as well. Are we going to do something that is going to, you know, propel economic growth, or are we going to bring uh, the economic development? Is it going to slow down or is it going to speed up? And if it's going to slow down, what else can we do to ensure that we do not do that? Because you don't want to do a project that at the end of the day, the people you're aiming to serve are suffering more than they were before you did the project. But that will mean that the project is not really for those people, it is not sustainable, and it is not even a good project. Now, I understand that some projects are also affected by politics and some things get done because of political interests. And political interest sometimes eliminates sustainability because people have their own interest in certain areas. But if you leave that aside, as professionals and as we, leaders in the industry, championing sustainability, we shouldn't close our eyes to such things when they happen. We should sound and bring them on the table. In as much as they may be ignored because of political interest, that should not deter us from having a practice that you do. Because if you have a practice that you continuously do, it becomes a habit, and a habit changes culture, and culture changes society, and a change in mind shift can actually help to change an entire country, an entire continent, and even the whole world. That's why we have some companies that have global reach, while some companies don't have global reach. Of course, some have very big, financial muscles, but the companies that have reached people globally based on their social impacts or their environmental impacts and not just economic impacts. So sustainability, as I mentioned, it aims to minimize the negative impacts of our projects on the planet, and we try as much as possible to maximize the positive social incomes and economic viability. Now, unlike traditional project management, you realize that traditionally, if you leave sustainability out of it, people would only think about time, scope, and budget constraints. Those are the three driving factors of any project. If you remove sustainability out of the conversation, because the project owner will just think of, I want this project to be done in the shortest time possible. This is the scope I have, and I want it to be done with the minimum budget possible. That was it. Nobody will think about environment. Nobody will think about the social setting of the people, and nobody will think about the economic effects at the end of the project, not just during the project. And those considerations are so important because why would you do a project if the social part of it and the environmental part of it are going to be negative? You get, like, it beats the goal if your project will leave the place worse than it was before. And to give you an example of that, look at your local area. If you have any highway that has been built in your locality, wherever you come from, you find these companies that do roads and highways, they get a place, then they buy it, then they do huge excavation of mud and rock and everything. And then at the end of the project, they leave those those areas are swamps and very big, deep. They almost look like dams, mini dams all over the country. They never get backfilled, and those places start, accumulating water, and this water will start hosting unwanted animals, of course, including mosquitoes, depending on the area you come from. These mosquitoes will end up going into people's houses and affecting people through malaria and increasing the cost of health. And they also act as environmental hazards. People who are working or living in the countryside, some still graze their animals, and we had cases where animals have actually fallen into those deep holes, and nothing really could be done. Back in my village, there's actually someone I knew. He was a driver to the district commissioner, and a construction company built a road which was passing next to their home, and they had bought some piece of land next to their home, and then they did the excavation of maram from that place. And after they finished building the road, they just disappeared. They never backfilled it. They just left. After the rainy season, the place collected a lot of water, and the local community started going there to, fetch water for doing basic work like gardening or watering their plants or doing some, you know, construction work, just some dirty water. Now, this guy, the driver, he was building his house, and they had to go and get water from one of those places with these guys and a pickup and all that. And as they went to collect the water, he tripped and he fell into one of those holes. And there is nobody around who knew how to swim, who could go in and help him out. And can you imagine a team of like four people just watched one of them die, and there's nothing they could do? They screamed and made noise. By the time somebody came, the guy had passed. It was a very, very sad story. And even despite that story and loss of life, those holes are still open up to date. The politicians came, of course, they did their thing, talked in the barrel, but then no action was taken. Now, that's a very live example of how neglect of the social impacts and the environmental impacts of our projects can affect people. Because that person is the breadwinner of the family, but is no longer there. It doesn't exist anymore because of the impact of our project. So these things are very serious. And the same applies not just in construction, but also in other fields like the medical field, finance, procurement, everything. If you are in, let's say, in the medical field, even how you dispose the waste products from the medical setting cannot be the same as the waste from a household. They have to be taken very serious. Some are even being incinerated because you don't want them to get into the environment because the chemical content that they have that can pollute the soil, the water, and everything. So sustainability cuts across all the chains of businesses that we do, and these are real things in our lives. So some of the key sustainable practices in construction and energy, if I want to limit myself into that, are very simple things that we talk about every day, and I'm sure you've heard of them, but implementing them is the challenge. And you may assume that maybe your business is too small or your company is too small, but those small practices that you do actually have the biggest impact on your business. One of them is the resource optimization. And let me use an example in this. All of us like efficiency. If things are inefficient, you're going to take more time. When you take more time, you're going to have a lot of cost incurred in your project. And if you spend more than you planned for, then basically your business or your project is having negative impact on you financially immediately. And then there could be other effects that can come with that, of course, in the environment, and then of course social aspect as well. So optimizing your resources means that you work in a way that you can reduce waste, you can recycle, and you can use renewable sources of energy from any place that is possible. So if you can, for example, use solar light in a construction site rather than using electricity, then you'd be doing resource optimization. That's an example. All right. Then recycling. We're going to talk about the examples further in the conversation. Resource optimization is one of the practices that you can always use in our businesses. Another one is life cycle assessment. What I mean by this is this: whenever you handle any project or any type of business, you should be aware of something called the end of life of whatever you're doing. So let me give you an example. If you're someone who makes fabric, for example, you need to understand where you source your fabric from, the process it goes through, the materials that you make from the fabric, and then what about the waste that comes from the fabric at the end of making the cloth or the material that you made? What happens to the waste? That is understanding the life cycle and the end of life of your project or of your items. And once you understand the entire process, then you'll be able to determine, okay, the waste from the fabric we're going to use to do the following items. Maybe we're going to make some mini baskets or mini handbags that can be sold rather than just having, big chunks or small chunks of fabric being disposed into the waste and into the environment without thinking of what could possibly be done using these things. So that is life cycle assessment. And when you do life cycle assessment, you'll also be able to know at which stage can you implement a certain practice, or which stage is not practical or is not efficient and you can eliminate it, right? And then you have stakeholder engagement, of course, people that you work with, you need to bring them in, especially the local community, so that you know that their needs are taken care of when you're looking into social sustainability. So you don't just ignore the people that are in that area, but then you need to bring them in and understand what their input is. And I've seen of late some projects in Kenya involves the contractor building roads for the local communities. I've seen this in just two projects so far that I'm exposed to, but those are real ones that I've seen actually done where a road has been upgraded because a project is going to be done in that area. But I think it's like 10% of 100% of projects that are normally done in Kenya, but some people actually do it. Then we also have to think about the carbon footprint management, and this means we need to monitor greenhouse gases and emissions when you're doing a project through doing or adopting energy efficient practices, materials, and technologies. What that means is if the effects of our projects into the environment, we really need to monitor. An example of that is you could be having a generator that uses fuel, and maybe you need to use this generator for the next 3 months in your site. You would think of using a generator that actually uses electricity rather than the one that uses fuel, because with that, you'll be able to minimize fossil gas emission into the environment if you use the electric generator rather than a fuel generator. Again, you can go a step further and ask yourself, where is the source of this power? Do you use the normal electricity, or can we use solar to actually power this generator? If solar is viable, then you go for solar. And just that small practice, if you look at the overall effect on the carbon footprint, you'll find that it's made a huge, huge difference in terms of saving the environment from excess emissions of CO2, which would have come from your generator. That's just an example. All right. So there are some technologies that would actually help us to implement these practices. And every day, technology is developing, including artificial intelligence. And I think by research, in the AI field alone, over the next 7 years, we're going to have an excess of over 90 million jobs created worldwide because of AI. At the same time, you're going to have, I think, 25 million jobs that are going to be lost due to AI as well. I think by 2030, by 2035, I need to confirm. That is a research from Forbes. Now, those statistics are the effects of technology. And in this case, we're talking about artificial intelligence. And if I link this into project management in the construction and energy field, there are other softwares that are powered using AI, like BIM, Building Information Modeling. These are systems or things that are normally used to manage a project right from the planning stage all the way to the delivery of the project, and even post-delivery. What would happen when the project is finally delivered, and people that are using it, how are they finding it? Are there any effects that they have found out that they didn't know before they started using this? And when you streamline your processes using software, using technology, you're actually working on, or you are trying to make your project to be sustainable. Case in point is, rather than doing project reports to be shared or printed during a site meeting, you'd rather do the project report and share with the entire team, so that when you meet on site, all of you go through the project report on soft copy. You'll be minimizing printing costs, number one. You'll be minimizing the use of paper, and using paper is one thing that we know is contributing to deforestation, because people are using more trees than the ones that are being planted so that paper is produced. So if you can minimize using paper, you would be saving the environment. Now, you may think that I only have one project. How am I saving the environment by not printing reports? Now, if you're managing a project that is 100 million shillings, probably you're going to spend maybe 100,000 shillings in all the printouts that you're going to do throughout the project or less. If you are managing projects worth 1 billion shillings, probably you'd have, if you take care of the printing machines and everything, and that is involved in the papers and cartridges and the ink and employing someone to do that, probably you're going to spend over 1 million shillings in just paperwork. So if you look at the sustainable practice here of eliminating just paperwork in a project, it may look like a small effort of eliminating just 100,000 from a project. But if these projects were 10 times what they are, then that's already 1 million shillings. So in a large scale, you are doing a huge improvement in your project in terms of sustainability by just eliminating printing reports. A very simple thing. Okay, that's an example. Another bit of technology is for tracking the project. There are so many tools that I can't even list all of them. There's Slack, there's Zoho, there's HubSpot. There's so many, there's Trilio, there's so many tools that have been developed that are nowadays used by project teams to track report, and you don't have to drive to go to a site to actually find out what's going on and drive back to the office. Using technology, you can minimize the time you drive on the road. You'll be saving it economically. You'll be burning fuel. If you don't go to site, you'll be saving use of fossil fuel. You'll be reducing impact on the environment. Now, let me chip in there. It may look like a very small effort if one car is not driven to a site for 1 hour and back in the field that's going to be used. But if 1,000 companies were all driving cars to various sites every day to check and go back, those would be 1,000 vehicles on the road emitting CO2 every day to go and check a project and come back. However, if you have technology in place, you could be eliminating this 1,000 trips per day for all those companies if they adopt technology. And that's how technology is playing a role in sustainable project management. Then, of course, we also have data analytics and sustainability metrics. Using data and AI can help us make so many decisions without using a lot of effort, because the tools that are available are quite a lot that you can use to do data analysis based on your project. You can know in which stages of a project are you spending a lot of money, which stages normally take longer than the other ones. Do you have too many people assigned to a certain part of the project? Can you reduce them? And if you reduce them, what are the impacts on the environment and on the cost in the company? And what about your efficiency? If you remove some people and replace them with technology, will it be faster? Will it save the environment more? Or what are the effects on the local community? And there's some projects where you would be required to, actually incorporate the local community as part of the project. Even if you have the technology to do the project, it is a requirement because you also want to bring some positive economic impact in that area. And that is a social aspect of sustainable project management. If you are not sustainable, then you only focus on time, cost, and budget, and you do not think about the economic vitality of this project for the local community. All right. And that, of course, combines with stakeholder engagement and training. You would need to sometimes train your people to adopt these practices and the processes, and even also train the local community that you work with, because you can give people some tools. I don't know if any of you have seen the solar lights that are being put around the country, and some solar lights were installed in some small towns, and then after some months, you find that some locals actually went and actually brought them down, and maybe took the solar piece out there, removed the light, and all that. And my biggest concern with that, or the reason why I think that really happened, was the community probably were not well trained into what is this new solar light that has been put here, what is its use, and how is it going to help me in the long term. So once the companies installed those solar and disappeared, people actually vandalized them. Well, I don't defend them for doing the, you know, putting them down and taking the solar panels and the lights. But if the impact of that solar light was made known to the local community, maybe the rate at which the vandalism could have taken place would have been lower than what it was at that time. All right. So training is really important. And then some of the challenges in sustainable project management, of course, People have different interests in projects, of course, in the construction industry and the energy sector. And challenges are always there. We have regulatory issues where the amount of approvals you need to do some project can just be crazy for you to start a project. And some regulations that we still have even at this point, some of them are actually outdated because technology has advanced so much that if you go to what the regulation says, we are like 20 years back, but that is what the government is using in some county governments. Let's say you're trying to get approvals to do a petrol station. That's a project in the energy sector, and petrol station normally requires quite a number of approvals from NEMA, from EPRA, from the county, from National Construction Authority, from the local government, almost 5 approvals before you start the work. And my experience has been most of the time in most of the counties, you still have the old processes where technology is available, but no one is really using it. You need to go and look for somebody to do for you an approval, to sign for you a piece of paper so that you can go and do a project. Yet we have technology where this approval can actually be done online without you driving to go and look for somebody to approve for you a piece of paper. So that is an example of us not being sustainable in 2024 when there's availability of technology that can actually facilitate such approvals and some regulations for a project to start. Then, of course, lack of awareness is a big challenge of sustainability. That the community, people do not know, why should I do something in a certain way? Why should I adopt this practice? What will I gain out of it? I mentioned training earlier with the example of the solar light. If training is done in a proper way, then you would find that the people that are being involved in certain projects, they understand and they appreciate the importance of being sustainable and how they're going to benefit not only for them but also for their community and the environment overall. Then they'll be able to be champions of the project, they'll be fans of the project, they'll be able to support the project. All right. And then, of course, cost concern. Sometimes most project owners, using the traditional approach to project management, they just want to focus on the cost, the time, and the scope. And anything that will make them spend a little bit more, you'll find them, finding it difficult to implement. An example of that is maybe a project is supposed to be done in a certain local community, and the community don't really understand why the project is being done. And for this to be successful, the company will be required to spend some money and some time to educate the community on why the project is being done. Now, some project sponsors find this difficult and they ignore that part and just bulldoze and implement the project. Now, that is not sustainability because you would be, you know, doing a project like the example I gave from my village, where the company left holes there and people actually died and animals have been dying there as well, and the community wasn't very happy, even though it was bulldozed. It is a government project. It was done, but then now the effects have remained with the local community. They are very unhappy with it. But then you see, for you to approach such a community again, it will be very difficult for you to implement a project. All right, but with education and creating awareness, you would be able to overcome such barriers. And then finally, some of the a number of examples which I would want you to check maybe later. We can't go through them. Some projects that were actually done in a sustainable way or sustainability was incorporated in implementing such projects here in Kenya. You can check them out at your own time. I'm seeing it's already 6:30. I'll just give you, if you're taking notes, you can just note the following. We have the Olkaria geothermal project in Kenya. There's a nice story about that geothermal project. I know it's a government project, but there's some interesting things that they did there that actually was plugging into sustainability. You can also check the story of Mkopa, the solar company. Um, and then one of my most interesting projects is the green building at the UN complex in Nairobi. Please read about it on how the building maximizes the use of natural ventilation and lighting to reduce its, power consumption. They're recycling the grey water, they're recycling the harvesting rainwater, and they've installed, you know, water fixtures that actually reduce water usage, like smart items within the building. An example of that would be a tap that does not overflow. Let me give you an example in your house. When you leave a tap to flow for, let's say, 2 minutes without knowing. Maybe a phone call came in and you're using the sink and you forgot and picked the call and then came back 5 minutes later, you'd find that the volume of water that the tap has actually released is, let's say, 5 liters or 10 liters. And on the other end, there's a certain tap that if you have it and you've used it for some time and probably you forgot to use it, after 5 minutes, you find that the water that has released is, let's say, 3 liters. So that's an example of a sustainable water fixture that you can have in your house. There are many others. We have houses where we are currently have technology where if you forget light in a certain room and you've installed this technology in your house, it will turn off the light by itself. We have smart houses that you can control from your phone, even remotely from wherever you are. You can link everything to your TV and your fridge and your lighting and your shower, everything. So you can control this on your phone. Those are examples of sustainability. But then, of course, adoption of such is taking time, especially in Kenya and Africa, because of the cost involved. But people are headed there. When I talk with my clients from the diaspora who want to build back at home in Kenya, they are exposed to such technology, and we have a lot of conversations around that, how they can install this. Is this available in Kenya? Do we need to import it? But then I find that most of the items we still need to import from other countries. And now those such information actually creates business opportunities that people are starting to build interest in such technology. Yet we don't have the items in the country to actually deliver such buildings. And a business can be created out of that. How do we have these materials available locally that people who want to use them can actually implement them in their projects? Also check the Lake Turkana wind power project, another interesting project on sustainability there. And then finally, you can also check Sankara Hotel. Sankara Hotel has some energy efficiency stories there that are interesting, how they designed the building to be sustainable in terms of the fixtures, while at the same time maintaining the luxury for their guests. Now, the future of sustainability in construction and energy is currently being, championed by around 4 factors. One of them is the renewable energy integration. I just mentioned that in having a smart house and things like using solar instead of using the normal power, recycling your gray water from the building, to use it for like gardening and other things like washing cars and all that. And then also we have the green finance. Green finance is it's a whole different discussion, but there are resources that are available to assist companies and organizations that are so involved in ensuring that we do the projects in a green way, in a way that is sustainable, and in a way that reduces CO2 emission to reduce carbon footprint in the world. And if you've heard of a certification called LEED, that is the Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design, they're just certifications that are normally used to certify buildings or projects if they are compliant with sustainable standards that are available globally. There's also BREEAM, that is BREEAM, that is Building Research Establishment Environmental Assessment Method. That's also used to assess buildings to find out their sustainability levels and how they are, impacting the environment. Is it in a positive way or in a negative way? And is it sustainable to continue using that? So it's a big discussion. I just want to thank you for paying attention for half an hour to listen to that. And I would want to bring it to a close there and open the floor for discussion or any reaction. So thank you so much for your attention. Over back to you, Barbara.
Thank you very much, Steve, for that wonderful presentation. And let me see if there are any questions or comments in the chat box. And maybe if anyone has a question or a comment, you can type it in the chat box. And meanwhile, I'm going to welcome our CEO, Dr. Masharia, to give a few remarks. Dr.
Well, thank you so much, Barbara. Please confirm you can hear me.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
Barbara, thank you very much. And thank you very much, Steve Teves, for coming and, serenading us with this great news. I call it great news because I think we are at the era of sustainability. Now, I need to begin. I want to say that in Kenya, you talked about material for smart house. Let's start from there because it's very, you could say, it's very visceral. Visceral means it's gut space. I mean, the gut reaction where guys in the diaspora like myself are interested in having smart buildings in Kenya. Okay. And I know that at the CUT, Dedan Kimathi University in Nyeri, they have their design lab and they are making these sustainable smart products. One of one of the presenters at our summit called the Tower Architects will be presenting about what's going on at the CUT, and they actually even have a microchip lab, fabrication lab for making microchips, so quite advanced. So I think that technology is going to be available in Kenya for even making smart houses. So Tower Architect is now working on sustainable design with, incorporated, artificial intelligence in the design of buildings. So even for sustainability. Okay, that's what I would say. So the material. So as you say, it's a big business opportunity for those of you who are here and they have the penchant for getting into deep science, deep tech. It's already available at the CUT, and it's a very, very big business in the future. You're likely to make lots of money. There's no doubt if money is important to you, but also to improve the environment that we live in as we are making, you're supporting human development. So there is now the talk about green finance. I think why this conversation is very, very important, even to us in Actuate Foundation, is because Actuate has, in its full flower, in its full blossom, will have a biomedical industrial city. And that's what we are planning in Kenya, somewhere in one of the regions in Kenya. Will not disclose where because it's still a top secret. But you want to know, the ultimate goal for Actuate Foundation is to create a biomedical industrial city. That biomedical industrial city is going to be designed with sustainability in mind. It's already designed, by the way, at Texas A&M University in a College of Architecture. So we have designed a city. And so you can see that's a massive, massive project, which we want to integrate full environmental sustainability design that takes care of humans, animals, environment, and also the economy itself. So it becomes an industrial city built on sustainability principles. And it's going to look, we have learned a lot from what the UN design, the design for the UN complex there in Gigiri. So I agree with you. So it's based on similar principles. We worked on a College of Architecture at Texas A&M University for about 3 years, so that we understand how to design that. And of course, Steve, you're welcome to participate in that project. And that's why it's going to be presented by our architects at the summit in December. So that Daniel Kimingi will be presenting that project on December 5th. Okay, so that's going to be on the 3rd day in the morning. So, and we want to see, so we are working in collaboration also with the University of Nairobi College of Architecture. So, and I think it's going to require a serious project management muscle. Yeah, so that's it. Let's go to the theory of all this. The theory of sustainability, takes its root in the works of Elkington. Elkington, way back in 1972, when he wrote a paper he called the devil with a 3 pitchfork. Yeah, three, meaning that companies are concerned, as he said, companies are concerned with just one bottom line, which is about how much money they are going to make and how much, and their efficiency. How much time is it going to take them to make that money? And so Elkington observed way back in 1972 that as companies are thinking of making money, they have to think about the environment itself, where they are making that money, and they have to think about the people. And so Elkington came with this theory called the triple bottom line. That was way back. So these are very old things, have been there for decades. But you can see even then, road construction, funded through the World Bank, most likely. Even the World Bank is thinking of saying that we are implementing the triple bottom line. They are still constructing roads, digging holes, excavating leaving those holes there for people to fall in and die. So they are not able to get there. See, what is the problem? Why is it that even if this knowledge has been there for decades of the triple bottom line, where when the company is going to work with people, to work on a project, you have to think about people, profits, and the environment. That's what they call that the triple bottom line. So way back in 1998, then Stuart Hart comes and with another idea. How can we bring the people, the local communities, the individuals in the communities to participate in this type of project? So Stuart Hart wrote a paper in 1998, imagining how we can bring the free stakeholders for competitive imagination. So engaging free stakeholders for competitive imagination. That is what was 1998. So engaging free stakeholders, who are those free stakeholders? Stuart Hart said, free stakeholders includes the local people, that when projects designers think about projects, they're not thinking about the people in the village. Yeah, truth be told, they are just thinking about the road itself and how quickly they're going to finish that road. That's what they're thinking about. When they're creating the budget, it doesn't include community education, which is what Steve has told us. Community education should be at the beginning of everything, putting the last first. So traditionally, such people who are the last in the imagination, in the project design, are in the fringes. They are the last to think about. That's why when people are designing projects, they don't care what you do or what you eat, where you live. And that doesn't care. They don't care about your goats, your cows. They can dig a hole for your cow to come and fall through. They don't care. Okay. So engaging fringe stakeholders. So that was 1998. And then, see, this is now here in the United States. And Stuart Hart is my friend. So he was at Cornell University. He went preaching about that to all the companies. But even today, they're still not doing it. Say that the road that Steve has just described to us, most likely is built within the last decade. That's meaning that, and this is funding through the World Bank or maybe such in international organization, because the money is not raised for building such roads among the local people. It's raised through, and of course, these guys, I'd say at the World Bank, I call them these guys because they're people. They know Stuart Hart, they are his students. By the way, we are the students. Because Stuart Hart speaks to people at the World Bank, he's gonna speak to people at the United Nations, at such high levels. Remember, he was at the Cornell University, which is one of the Ivy League universities like Harvard or MIT. So the idea of engaging free stakeholders, although it is well understood by the senior level managers, even the middle level managers, and the people in the companies that are doing these projects, it is not implementable. Why is it that it doesn't get there? And you see, that's a huge problem because the fringe stakeholders are never engaged. In fact, Stuart Hart wrote a full book again by 2005 called Capitalism at the Crossroads. And he said that the only companies that are going to be sustainable in the long-term sustainability are those companies that are able to implement the three bottom lines. And then you can measure the three bottom line. That means the people, the economy, and the environment. And in that book, Capitalism at the Crossroads, Stuart Hart argued that the fringe stakeholders are not just human beings. They include the livestock, the wildlife, the trees, and the soil. Because the soil is not talking, these fringe stakeholders are actually silent. We cannot hear them, but they speak to us. Then that was 2005. How many years ago? Till today, we are still doing the same thing. And so even as the bigger superhighway is being constructed, now that got money from China, and the other construction, even building constructions are happening, we are not It's like we have never heard of what Stuart Hart said. Neither have we heard of Elkington, what he said in 1973. But then if you look at the financial rhetoric, even from, say, these international agencies, they are talking about triple bottom line. You have seen the UN has put up a building in Nairobi, which observes the triple bottom line. But that's the UN. See, it's the UN. What about the rest of them? But you can see there are certain companies, say like Sankara Hotel, that's congratulations, they have done that. So we believe that there's one thing that has been missing that full conversation. How do you engage the free stakeholders if the free stakeholders do not appear anywhere in the balance sheet? See, so for example, these companies we are talking about, when they are lending money, all that stuff appears in the balance sheet. The balance sheet is reported in the capital markets. The capital markets really cares only about the dollars. It's what they call the hard cash, the money that's spent. So it turns out that they talk about the people and the environment is all talk. That's all there is. Because ultimately, those things do not appear in the balance sheet because the traditional finance system or the traditional economics has no means to comprehend social responsibility or even environmental responsibility. It's incomprehensible. It is impossible to capture the value of educating the free stakeholders on a balance sheet to put in the capital markets. And so ultimately, whether we say it or not, they do not appear in the balance sheet, and that's what it's about. Because then it looks like we are talking about something that is actually not possible. But that was happening because of the mathematics. See, the underlying theory of the mathematics that guide the economic principles of the tradition of finance. Even when you talk about green finance, it's still based on the same mathematical principles, which is based on calculus. And then it turns out that we are now in a new age of new mathematics, the mathematic theory of communication, which has given us the blockchain. Now, the blockchain is decentralized finance. Decentralized finance, the term decentralized means that you're actually able to decentralize the decision making from the central stakeholders, called the salient stakeholders, and then the free stakeholders come to the center of decision making. So I think we have right now the technology to bring the free stakeholders, just what Stuart Hart was saying in 1998, of engaging free stakeholders for competitive imagination. What was missing in that conversation or in that narrative is the technology for how to engage the free stakeholders for competitive imagination. So, and I put it to you, ladies and gentlemen, that the free stakeholders, that technology for engaging free stakeholders for competitive imagination is the blockchain technology itself. And it's called decentralized finance, because decentralized finance, built on the mathematical theory of communication, is able to get free stakeholders right where they are. For example, and then, so because they are right where we're talking about engaging free stakeholders. What does that mean? Engaging, what does engaging mean? It means that stakeholders, those free stakeholders, participating in the project governance. So it's really a question of governance. What is governance? Governance means that local people, free stakeholders, participating in voting, voting for decisions about the project. Now, local people, when a project like a highway construction, a highway project is being designed, nobody needs the local people to vote for anything, even for anything that's going to affect them. So, but that was because the centralized finance system, it does not have the ability. It cannot reach the people so that they can vote about their project. So today, with the decentralized finance, now it's possible to create voting mechanisms. Through people can vote their tokens, which are in their wallets. Now, when it comes to voting, if you have say the Actuate token, and there's a project that's being designed by the Actuate group, the Actuate Foundation, then members of the Actuate can actually vote with their tokens. And these tokens are not the tokens that are liquid tokens, tokens that identity tokens such as SBT, which are NFT. An NFT was going to help you vote. And so the technology for engaging free stakeholders for competitive imagination is a soul-bound token, the NFT that is an identity token. And I think that's the solution right now. So it means that as far as sustainability is concerned right now, the conversation has reached its age. It wasn't ready because there was no technology for it in 1973. There was no technology for it in 1998. There was no technology for it in 2005. But the technology came along in 2008 when Satoshi Nakamoto created Bitcoin. But you see, it's taken us a whole decade to understand it. But now the technology is here. Now let us use the blockchain to engage free stakeholders for competitive imagination, because that competitive imagination that Stuart Hart spoke about is what's called sustainability, because your company becomes sustainable if it's actually competitive. So that's what I would like to add about that. And I'm very excited because you can see it's not just now the technology coming of age, it's actually the means for making that technology available to everybody. It's happening in Kenya right now, in universities like the Kut, even JKUAT is manufacturing quite a number of things, and you are going to partake of all that knowledge and all that goodness when you come to the summit, because all those groups of people who are making such beautiful technology are going to be there at the summit in December. Okay, thank you so much. Back to you, Steve. Barbara.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Macharia, for your remarks. And I'm going to briefly mention about the summit. And this is the news that we already have developed the summit program, and we have come up with the idea of the free pass, where you can be able to be a part of the summit using the free pass. And this is what you're required to do. All you need to do for you to be able to join the summit with the free pass is you need to set up a digital wallet and acquire just 5 Actuate tokens. And this is why you will be able to attend the summit using the NFT number, which will be your ticket number to the summit. And then we also have the pitching competition and poster competition. And this will be your chance to showcase your groundbreaking ideas and solutions for a short of 100,000 Actuate tokens, and winners will also receive certificates, including a blockchain-based soul-bound token, which is the SPT, which is a unique credential representing your achievement. And you can also be able to sign up for the summit as soon as possible using the link to the attendance form. And I'm hoping to see everyone at the summit also. And with that being said, if you have any questions or remarks, you can send them to the chat box. And this being a learn to earn session, and where we teach you to reward you using Actuate tokens, I will also be sharing the link to the attendance form. This is the link to the attendance form, and then I'll also share the link to the summit so that you can be able to sign up and register. Unless there's anyone with a question, I will be sending the attendance form.
All right, thank you, Barbara. And
Okay,
so everybody, as you have heard from Barbara, you have entitled to a free pass to the summit. A free pass means that you also put some of your skin in the game. There's no participation in our skin. Now, this skin means that you already have Actuate token. Okay, take those Actuate token and create a liquidity pool, and then that liquidity pool is going to give you an NFT number. That NFT number is your admission receipt. You do not have that, obviously admission ticket. You do not have that NFT number, don't bother coming. I'm serious about this because we have been talking about understanding the blockchain, getting you this is what we're talking about community awareness. So you cannot claim you do not know what we are talking about. If you say that, it's you who do not know what you're saying. We have had these lessons every single day, every single week since December last year. Okay, so everybody by now must know how to make a wallet. So if you don't know how to get a wallet, learn very quickly, because as you hear, this technology is there for engaging fringe stakeholders for competitive imagination. It's not something for playing around with. I'm telling you, this very serious stuff. Engaging fringe stakeholders for competitive imagination. If you don't have competitive imagination, I just want to tell you here now, you're not worthy attending the summit. It's not for you. Stay out of it. All right? All right? All right. Now it's only for those people who have got competitive imagination. This is what is called the technology of the age. You are going to meet in that summit very, very serious people. Yes, they have no nonsense people. These are serious people, high profile professionals who are working very, very hard to bring all these technologies to the people. So you do not want to take that for granted. If you think even 1 second you're going to take anything for granted, that meeting is not for you. Do not bother coming there, because it's going to be a full waste of time for yourself. And we don't want to wait. We don't want you to waste your own time. I'm reminded of the parable of what? The parable of the wedding banquet. Did you remember? You can read in the book of Luke and Matthew, where the king had a wedding banquet for his son. And so he invited his friends, and his friends, they refused to come. In fact, when he sent his servants to invite his friends, those friends of his killed the servants. So he sent them for the second group of people to invite them, those people who are his officers, to come. They actually also chased away his servants. Second group of servants who were not killed. Then eventually the king said, okay, listen, invite everybody to come to summit, to come to not the summit, to come to the banquet, and make sure that when they come, everybody come dressed in a wedding gown. I think the banquet gowns, not wedding gown. So the banquet gown. So they have to come up all dressed up. So and everybody turned up. There were so many people. But then the king went down to meet the people and greet the people, and he found one guy who was now dressed up in the gown. And he said, "Why aren't you dressed up, my friend?" And he said, "Oh, I'm not dressed up because, he started giving excuses." Then he said, "Take this man, tie him hand and foot, and throw him out in the darkness where there is weeping and gnashing of teeth." Okay? Throw him out into the darkness where it's weeping and gnashing of teeth. These are holy scriptures. Even that when you are invited into something, take it seriously. That's the message there. Do not come underdressed. Do not come without a gown because you're winging it. There's no room. If here the requirement for participation, a free pass for you, because we also give you the free tokens for you, and then you decide to show up without the NFT, then you are not worthy. That's the serious level of unworthiness. It means that even if you come there, you will not benefit from the conversations that are taking place. And we do not want people who are not going to benefit from the conversation that are taking place there. That is the message in that parable. Just in case you do not know, these things are very, very serious. That is why they include the Holy Scriptures. It's not a joke. That when you're invited, be prepared to participate and come and partake of the big festival of knowledge, the festival of the common that's going to be there. It's going to be very good. So there's nobody who's going to lie to you. That's easy. So I've received messages, people raising concern that process is too complex. That getting Actuate token, creating a liquidity pool, and getting NFT is too hard. If you find it's too hard for you to do that, that is not, you are not worthy. That's what you're telling me. I, for example, do not advocate unworthiness, and I cannot have that. I don't want unworthy people because it's going to be a waste of time. Okay, so you want to exercise that. That's why we have way from December last year, we have this learn to earn session. So you can learn, okay? You learn, it's called learn to earn. Learn to earn, that's the full principle. If you have not learned for a whole year, you're not going to learn for one day. Okay, that's the whole thing. So I'm saying this thing because it is some people are just deplorable, insufferable. They complain, and then they show up in a wedding banquet without the wedding gown. So, as it is written in the scriptures, what's good for such people? Tie their hands and feet together, throw them in the darkness out there where there's weeping and gnashing of teeth. So you have to choose whether you want to be out in the darkness where there's weeping and gnashing of teeth, or you want to be in the light. Yeah, so I want that so that you understand there is nobody, they're not bending over backward for you if you cannot stand up straight for yourself. Nobody's going to bend over backward. I'm not just saying act with them. This applies to the entire life for yourself. Nobody will bend over backward for you if you cannot stand upright for yourself. Okay, so you take responsibility. That is what's called sustainability. All right, so that's it. The process is simple. And so we don't want people to hear people complaining about simple process. If you do not know, there's a lot of people in the group to help you, but don't say that you can't do it just because you can't. If you say you can't do it now, who can help you if you say that? So say that I can do it. Be on the positive side of life. All right? Be on the good side of life. As you know, Paul said to the Philippians, whatsoever is true, whatsoever is lovely, if anything has got virtue, if anything is of good report, think of those things, and the peace of God will be with you. Philippians 4:8. Read that scripture, you understand what that means. If anything is true, if it's, and say, now finally, brothers and sisters, whatsoever is true, whatsoever is noble, whatsoever has got virtue, whatsoever is of good report, think of those things, and the peace of God will be with you. That peace of God means that you gain access to the inner sanctum so that you can come and celebrate in the festival of the common, what you are talking about. But if you're thinking about bad things, bad things are going to happen to you. So keep your heart on things above. Things above means that stay positive, all right? As written in Colossians 3:1, keep your heart on things above. Look above, and so you can actually, don't complain about something you already know. That is disgusting. I mean, you cannot say that you don't know something you've been taught for a whole year. Who is gonna care about that? Nobody cares. Listen, if you complain about things you already know, what is anybody supposed to do? People are going to say, okay, that one is a complaining one, just leave him alone. So what it means is create a wallet. If you don't know how to make a wallet, today, participate in a blockchain session. You learn more about wallet. We're going to talk about that. And number 2, you create a liquidity pool, but do not say it's complicated because we have been learning about that for a whole year as freedom. And today you get in class and learn how to create that liquidity pool and obtain the NFT number. I truly, I tell you, you are not going to get admitted into the amphitheater in KU without NFT number because it is free. It's for you. Then you cannot come back complain about something that's free that is hard for you to do. Now that hardship, you're going to experience hardship forever and ever if you like hardship, because for those who have, even more is given and they have abundance, and those who do not have, that means those people are complaining they don't have the wherewithal to do it. Those who do not have, even the little they think they have is taken away. So this life is not for people who say they don't have. You're not going to get it by saying you don't have. Even the little you think you have is taken away. That's what you're told. Keep your heart on things above. Colossians 3:1. That's the advice from Paul himself. And whatsoever is true, whatsoever is noble, if anything has got virtue, think of those things. And the peace of God will be with you always. Philippians 4:8. I feel now it's necessary for me to remind you the scriptures so that you can know the guiding principle for your what? For your what? For your success. So, and in the summit, we want to be there to be very successful. So one final thing, I just want to tell you that this week has been very, very remarkable. So much interest from different places. As you have heard, the Biomedical City project has just, re-emerged or resurfaced, or say resurrected. Now working in partnership with the University of Nairobi and a group called Liver Group, which is Portuguese. They're project designers. We call them design and design, development, and construction. And the engineers and architects, plus the World Bank to the International Finance Corporation and the finance partners. So be there. It's going to be very, very beautiful. And it's really, really exciting. And so we talk about sustainable design. That's why we're very excited to hear from Steve. And Steve will be talking a lot more about that biomedical city design, in concert with the University of Nairobi, so that you can see how we can bring all that knowledge that you have in sustainable design into the project. Thank you so much, Barbara, and back to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Macharia, for reminding us about the summit and the free pass to the summit. And I hope everyone is going to buy the 5 Actuate tokens so that they don't miss out on the summit because of 5 Actuate tokens. And with that being said, there are no questions or comments in the chat box. I hope everyone has understood what we were discussing throughout the session, and we have come to a close. So I want to appreciate our guest today, Steve Tevez. Thank you for making time to the meeting. And our CEO, Dr. Macharia, thank you very much for sharing your insights with us throughout the session. And to everyone else for attending the summit, thank you very much for making time. And I hope to see everyone at 8 p.m. for the blockchain class so that we can understand more about wallets and blockchain. So thank you very much, everyone. And the session is adjourned.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Thank you, everybody.